that
moth. I'm like, get these moths out of here. Who the hell let the moths in this room? Swear, I got a moth, I think, in my drink. I can't even see into this thing. It's a black mug. Can you tell? Can you guys see there's a moth in here before I drink this?
don't drink it. I'm telling you right now. I know for a fact
Ooh.
that the TCSP office that you're probably at in Hialeah right now is definitely not the most sanitary of offices.
Dude, there's animals in here. I mean, I love animals. It's all good, but I mean, it's
I'm in the underground, the bunker myself, so I understand. I'm currently looking around for a mouse I've been chasing around for a few days right now. I've got some peanut butter traps laid out, so
you're in Kiev, right? Right now?
We are just in the lower Kiev, yeah, not just above Chicken Kiev.
So, nice.
We're just in that area.
Spot. Nice. So yeah, that's healthy and quite tasty too.
You having a pretty decent beginning of the week? You know what? You're probably not. So let's not talk about how decent of a week you're having right now. Let's
not the week to discuss, but yeah,
let's not do that.
Yeah, no need. Are we on yet? Did our show start, or are we?
I don't know when the show starts. I just, you know what?
Because I know we're supposed to start at 9:30, and it's already like 10. Are we on?
Are we on right now? All right, I guess we're live. Thank you so much. You know what? Here, what do we have to get a bell, like a fucking bell for like a cow for you guys to let us know that that's happening? I don't have. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Casually Serious Podcast. I am Bob Riley. This is my man Ken Man, and we're here. We're
no moths.
There's no moth in his drink right now. I don't think I have any. I don't have any moths in my TCSP mug.
So that was the mothless show.
It's the mothless last cold swig of a Nespresso. Good Lord. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? We're back! Dr. Brian, calm down. You're burning it up out there.
I tell you, man, that guy rocks.
Welcome back to the Casually Serious Podcast. Today we are asking the question, do comedians get a social pass? So by that, we're asking, do they have First Amendment rights? And do they have any rights at all? Do they have the ability in this instance, can they say whatever they want because they're comedians? I don't know. Vic Martinez, what's going on? As always, coming in, chiming in. What's going on? Good to see you. Thanks for hanging out again from the shiny halls of YouTube land. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out. We've let's let a couple people pile in here. But yeah, we decided to ask that question. I know my wife was actually pretty excited about this question because we have to ask this. I think when you start going back to the beginning of comedy and think about the stuff they were saying back then compared to what they're saying now, you'll find a massive difference. And it obviously, I think, is more real now, but back then it was more raw, man. And I don't know. There's something about political correctness that has seeped into comedy, and I can't stand that idea, man.
Why do you got to say it like that?
Well,
Why can't you stand the idea?
It doesn't seem to be the right place for political correctness. Is not even something that should be discussed in the halls of comedy. That's where we go to talk correctly about the incorrectness of politics, if you will. That's sort of a church, if you will.
Right, but yet when comedians choose their topics, they're going to really base them a lot on the group that is being marginalized in what they're going to say. So if that group is an extremely large group, so they're generally going to stay away from religion, right? We're generally going to stay away from politics, right? Because if you really take a side, you've done that and you've entrenched yourself there. And that's where you're going to be labeled. And sure, people that agree with you are going to be with you and people that don't will not. And you don't want to turn those groups off. So the marginalized group that you are taking your humor out on in some way or another, those are the folks that we're really got to look at and say, okay, well, if we're in a society where we're trying to teach people that we want acceptance, but yet we're still taking stereotypes to create humor, are we really advancing that agenda so much? You know, the 50s, the 60s, the humor was all, you know, sexist and racist. But the sexism and the racism thing is it's changed because we have a different acceptance of, you know, different races. And of course, with sexism, it's much different today than it was in the 50s and 60s. So it's already evolved, but it hasn't escaped the political society in which we're in. And that society sort of dictates what a comedian can and cannot do.
I don't know if they dictate it, but I do believe that it may put a sort of subject fence around a comedian, if you will. So I agree with you in some elements. My situation is where I stand is this: they should be able to say whatever they want to say whenever they say it. It does not matter. But here's the situation: we're in a world right now where you are judged and sentenced in the court of social media before anything you can do in the court of law. So right away, you are automatically going to be judged right or wrong by the things that you say. So if you come out and you just say some racist shit as a comedian, you should wake up the next day and expect your publicist, your agent, everyone that you know close to you to be like, what the fuck happened to you last night? What is your problem? Why did you say what you said? So what I'm saying is you should have the freedom to say whatever it is that you want, because the dark, dingy comedy clubs of the world where we go and have our really bad well whiskey drinks and listen to some 60-year-old dude yell about how he spent too much time on the oil field or some fucking shit like that. Those are the places that we go to keep the comedy and the edge in our life. I think it's too much in the forefront in social media right now, where everyone thinks they're fucking hilarious because of their memes and all these stupid one-liners and recycled thoughts and stuff that they saw from comedians. I think these comedians are still pioneers of freedom of speech and being able to say what you want. And freedom of speech has always been something that us as Americans probably take for granted. But the thing is this: you do have the freedom to say anything you want to Black people, to Asian people, to Hispanic people, to white people. Say whatever you want, but there will be consequences. That's the only thing. That's the only thing I'm saying. Like you have to realize that now. Do you say too much? What is too much? I don't know. I can show you some Anthony Jeselnik roasts that will have most people that are hardcore like me saying, "Holy shit! How the hell did he get away with saying that?" Because he is hardcore, dude. But I love him. He's one of my favorite comedians of all time because he says shit that you should not say.
Well, one of the worst jokes and the most comedy being destroyed from all of this is what you said earlier. Those damn 2-drink minimums with a crappy well whiskey. Yeah. Why are we getting crappy well whiskey? Come on, man. At least bring me some decent whiskey if you're forcing me to buy 2 drinks and listen to some shitty comedy. But again, the point, seriously, going back to a lot of these clubs where you do have open mics, you're basically giving people a license to come up and say what they want. And I agree, there's, you know, maybe you get pummeled after the show or something if you're just a nobody coming up there and spewing racist hatred. But as far as a professional comedian or somebody that's legitimate, yeah, they're going to have to stay within the confines of what they find to be okay, and then be able to present that comedy in a way where they can make the audience feel like it's okay to laugh. And I think that's the part that really most people will look at and be able to describe if they feel like the comedian is being insensitive towards a group, or if they're trying to present it in a way where you can make people laugh about it, even if they are the group that's being discussed. Most comedians do this best when the group they're discussing is they fit into as well. Obviously, the Jewish comedian can make the Jewish jokes, and you know the Black comedian can make the Black jokes. Obviously, Asian, right. So on and so on, right? So that all of a sudden lends to itself to be okay. So how do you change that? Look what comedians now do. They portray their humor without actual humans. You know, I look at South Park. I mean, to me, if you want to look at something that pushes comedy and really, really pushes the envelope beyond what a human stand-up comedian is going to say,
massively intelligently too, man.
These guys have found a way to be able to portray this in a manner where you can't go after Cartman, or you can't go after these little guys that are drawn. I mean, even The Simpsons did this to a point and trying to push you onto Family Guy. I mean, these are all shows where these comedians, which are now writers, can put whatever they want and create any kind of character that they would like, and then put forth whatever they, and that some of those topics to me are some of the most controversial, almost more so than any stand-up comedian.
I'm getting a message. So he keeps pointing to the fucking trash. Do you have trash you need to show me? Oh. Okay. So now you're
fucking respect over here.
Oh my God.
Calling me trash, and then you put the frying. I ain't greasy. I've said it before. I ain't greasy.
I don't really know if that was a particular. I don't think that was a jab. I think I would have taken offense to that if that was the case. But it might have been. They're not here, so I don't know.
Listen here. Let me tell you, your oil tycoon, 60-year-old comedian, and whoever the hell Ken Man was trying to describe are the last things I ever want to listen to. I'll tell you that right now. You guys, I don't know what comedians you listen to, but my goodness, I've never heard of these guys.
So here's the deal.
About? I don't even know what he's saying.
All right, we're good. Doesn't matter. My wife and I just went and saw Nate Bargatze, and I think we spoke about this. I don't know if we did. Nate Bargatze is the only comedian, and let me tell you, he had an hour and 15-minute set Sunday night that had me crying most of the night. And this is the catch, and it shouldn't be a catch, but because it's me and because we live in the world we live in right now, it needs to be noted. It needs to be noted that Nate Bargatze never curses at all.
Right. That's true.
He is a 100% clean comedian. Yep. And the dude had me absolutely rolling, dude. Like I wasn't breathing right, man. And so he's sort of the opposite end of the spectrum where he's going to do the social commentary and say things, not really ruffle too many feathers and stuff like that. But on the other end, I've seen Anthony Jeselnik, and Anthony Jeselnik does a lot of jokes about dropping people's babies on purpose. Just a lot of really good, hilarious, dark shit that needs to survive in my mind, in my world. There needs to be the light and dark for you to appreciate both of those in whatever ways they are. So my opinion has always been, I need to see these comedians, these Jeselniks, the Lisa Lampanellis of the world that are out there just saying all kinds of real fucked up shit to everyone and about everyone.
That's only like 2%. It's only like 2% of the people that complain. It's only like 2% of that. We got to put a damn pacifier in these damn snowflakes, man. Let these comedians say what they got to say, man, and let it be.
Yeah. Okay. That goes a lot to what George Carlin always said, that it's the duty of the comedian to find where the line is drawn and cross it deliberately. That's what Carlin always said. So yeah, I mean, you see that's kind of always been that way, and that goes all the way back to jesters in the day where they were the only ones that could make fun of the king so long as it was funny. So there was always a little bit of freedom given to comedians going way back, but as our society evolves to what it has, and people become more sensitive, I don't know if we need to call everybody snowflakes, Hash Brown.
Yeah, they're snowflakes.
For the people that do feel that way, I still think it goes back to what are those marginalized groups that are being made fun of? How are you making fun of them? And can the comedian do it in a way that is somewhat, quote unquote, acceptable? But to get a free pass, like this show is all about, do they get a pass? I don't think necessarily a comedian gets a pass because, like Bob said earlier, they still need to wake up the next day and be okay with what they said and what they did. And if they are, then fine. You see some of the stuff Chappelle's going through now, and that's as good as it gets as far as comedy goes. But you're right. There are groups of people that are trying to cancel them out because they are so offended by what was said that they can't understand that some of it could just be, listen, this is their shtick. This is their thing. If you don't like it, you simply look away. You don't like somebody's music. You don't like an artist's music. You don't buy it. You don't listen to it. That's it. You tune out. That's the same. This is similar. So where I can still get that side of it, I still do look at the side of it to answer the question of today's show. I still don't believe that comedians should get a pass.
I think they should. And I'm going to tell you, I had a dentist that he converted to Judaism. Nah, I'm just playing. That's a Seinfeld episode. But You can't be doing those kind of things. You can't be doing those kind of things. You got to be
Just a
able
shtickle? Are we talking about just a
You're going
shtickle?
to make jokes. You're going to make jokes. It doesn't matter if it's the punchlines to a Jew, if it's to a black guy, to a Hispanic, an Italiano. It doesn't matter. It should not matter. Nobody should get a. Let it be. Let it be.
So here we go. We got, and Tammy is bringing up a great point. So here's the deal. Dice Clay wouldn't happen now. So here's the fucked up thing. Let's just say 15 years ago, stand-up comedy was invented, okay? And we didn't get the likes of Kinnison, Clay, Murphy, some of these guys who started off F your M, put your D in your B, and all the other things like that, all that good shit. If we didn't have those comedians, there would be there's no boundary, there's no bar anymore. So it would have been like, I tell you one thing, I was hanging out with my wife last night, and it'd be all that fucking slapstick crap, and there wouldn't be black guys like making fun of white guys and doing the white guy voice, like I don't think before Eddie Murphy I even knew how to make fun of a white person because I was a white person. So to hear somebody else do it was so fucking mind-blowing. You know what I mean?
True. It's like, yes, that's how you make fun of a white guy. Very well done, Eddie.
That's how most older white people sound, dude. Hell yes. Like, I got that. And so to me, growing up, listening to Delirious, listening to Carlin, shout out to my stepfather, Tom Burnell. He sat me down and listened to Pryor, Red Fox, all these guys. So I hold them in such high regard that I feel like that first wave of 60s and 70s comedians really set the boundary. And then we had the 80s comedians like Kinnison and these guys go, fuck that, dude. Let's widen this a little bit. And they got their proper heaping and helping of shit. But it was also at a time where, if you were printed in magazines and newspapers, then you were going to be more popular because of it. Just as it is now, it wasn't as big of a lens. So you don't necessarily want to get, I don't think, that kind of exposure now, but being that crass is a bit of a shtick now.
Whatever happened to that Kramer guy?
Yeah, he got some crap too, right?
He did. He yelled the N-word to somebody in a balcony, I believe, at one of his comedy shows. He had a bit of a mental health breakdown, I believe, and I think he's apologized.
He can't say it, but others can say it. That's what I don't understand.
The N-word? Is this what we're getting with right now? Is that what we're talking about?
That's what we're talking about. Elaborate.
Yeah. Why I oughta. Here's the deal. If you're not black, no go. That's the rules I've heard. And I've heard it, and I've seen it enforced in multiple ways that I wouldn't necessarily want to be part of. So I follow the rule of, since I am not black, I therefore will not use the N-word to describe a black person or anything like that. So that's not how I roll. Why do we not get to say that? Look, man, you know what? Here we go. Let's get back on track here, dude. Here's a funny thing.
I think we get a pass. We're not comedians, so we're not kind of at that level. So we certainly don't get a pass if people agree that comedians do.
There have been some black
podcast.
Comedians that have been slightly biased against white folks in their comedy. Which and I'll go. I think we should all go on it and say that it was probably warranted in many cases. But how many white comedians do we have that are doing like any sort of joke bashing on any sort of race?
We've lost the whites. We lost the white comedians.
It just doesn't happen anymore.
But the Italians now. The Italians are doing it.
I don't want that. I'm just saying. I think that we wind up policing ourselves in some way.
Well, again, it's the decision that the comedians, there's good white comedians, it's just that their comedy is going to be based on, again, what they're going to feel like they're not isolating a group of people, or why would you do that? I mean, your attempt is to try to get as many people to like your comedy, even knowing that there will be some that don't, and that's understandable. Not everyone's going to like all types of comedy. I mean, you look at some of the more popular comedians that kind of went across all types of spectrums of folks' ages and different ethnicities and whatnot. Bill Cosby probably was one of the best in his time, where again, he didn't curse. He was able to touch on so many different levels of just normal everyday life. So it was able to really kind of resonate with all types of folks. So I think that kind of comedy was kind of worked well. But and so it really is just about what you think you can do. I mean, Carlin, as a white comedian, really pushed some boundaries, but he did it in such an intellectual way that it felt like, as somebody who listened to him, you just felt like you were still being told a story, and not so much a joke. And it was crazy because there was a lesson too, which was
would
insane.
go over people's heads too.
It
Groups
would.
of people wouldn't catch a lot of those.
Right. So you'd have to get back to understand what he did. It's like, did he just make fun of this group of people? He's like, no, not at all. He actually made fun of the other people that would have laughed at it if you really look at what he did. So to me, there's a lot of ways to play these things. But at the end of the day, I think society has already shown that comedians don't get a pass, because the Me Too movement, everything else that's come out, the way we've looked at comedy change over the decades, just to see how it's changed with our society, kind of proves that our society in general is going to sort of dictate what can and cannot be said, or what will or will not be accepted by a lot of these groups.
These social groups are ridiculous. I can't stand all this this social media. You can't get away. You can't even fart in a bus anymore.
I don't know what that has to do with social media, but
believe me, you still can. You still can.
Everybody's going to hear about it, though. Everyone's going to hear about it. It's real embarrassing. It's terrible.
I'll give you one. I'll name one person.
Obviously.
I'll name one person that proves comedians can and will say whatever they want and get a pass. Seth MacFarlane. Period. End of story. The ability for this guy to be writing the same kind of really edgy shit on Family Guy as he did over 20 years ago when it started is insane. And he's our age. He's from our generation, and he speaks to the things that we grew up watching. There's always fucking Kool-Aid guy slamming through the wall, and there's always some there's some Maxell tape commercials and all kinds of shit that we remember because he's our age. But he has a way of throwing racist stuff in Family Guy, but he gets everybody, dude. So that, I think that may be the key. I think the reason why someone like MacFarlane can make a Family Guy and pretty much shit on everyone, including Caucasian America, is simply because he's able to do it to everyone in a comedic way, and it never seems hurtful. It always seems like, oh yeah, I do smell like hot dogs, like I can get that kind of thing. And then other than that, I don't know. I don't see a lot of people doing that.
Real quick. Let me interrupt. What you guys are using as examples are cartoons and parody. It's easy to make fun of things when your face ain't the face.
Of course, we talked about that already.
That's a smart thing
earlier, but it's true. It's smart what they're doing, but they're able to.
I heard you with the South Park, but that's how they get away with it. That's how they get away with it.
I 100% agree with that. That's exactly what we were talking about before.
I mean,
that's their way of being able to kind of get around having one. I mean, you can obviously still come to the writer, and they have. I mean, MacFarlane's taken his crap. Stone and Parker have taken their crap from South Park. They've taken that, but it hasn't stopped anything because there's been so much viewership. And money rules everything, of course. And these are shows that are on networks. Well,
they want that show.
Money rules the world.
Because
they get everybody. They fucking screw and shit on everybody across the board.
But Fox could still get them off. Say, look, we're not re-signing you. And I mean, so could Comedy Central, South Park. They could be like, we're done with you. But they're not, because the amount of money that's coming, the viewership is so huge. They're going to continue to do it. And that goes back to people like, hey, if they bothered you so much, why are you watching it? At some point, maybe you got turned off by one episode, and then by that episode, I'm not watching that show anymore. I've seen stuff that's bothered me on that show. I'll be honest with you, where I thought that's pushing it a little bit because it touched something personal in my life. But it wasn't enough for me to say, all right, I'm done with them because of that. I understand what they're doing, and I actually like it. So I'm okay with that, but at the same time, I still do feel they're able to push that envelope more because there's not an individual, there's not a real human face to that. Mm-hmm. It's just a character. It's not a real person. So it is a great way to do it. But I mean, that's not really what this show is. This show is more, we're talking more about stand-up comics, people that are right there. They're just like us, but they're standing in front of you. There's somebody you could point out. There's a name. There's a Twitter account. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you can go at and after for these folks. And you got all
with the user. I don't agree with this Facebook user because Joe Rogan, he almost got ostrich-sized over by That's how you. That's the word, right? That's the right word. Ostrich.
Ostrich. Yeah, ostrich.
Yeah,
size.
you got ostrich.
Ostrich size. It's like it's as big as an ostrich.
Big hairy
ostrich
bird.
size.
He had a big hairy bird ostracized him.
Ostrich size, right? An ostrich size. Go ahead.
Because of the damn COVIDs and the pills he was taking, he almost got taken out for that.
But here's some funny stuff attached to that. By the way, Facebook user, let me know if you just haven't signed up on StreamYard or if you are viewing through my through one of my pages. Let me know exactly where you are watching us, because if you haven't signed up to StreamYard, your name isn't going to show up. You have to tie your account to it. Anyway,
and Joe Rogan, I mean, that is actually a good point too that they're making there. So that's I
was able to get second row tickets to Ice Cube and Cypress Hill on 420 Eve rather quickly, and I couldn't even come close to getting Joe Rogan tickets a couple of days before that.
That guy's pretty darn popular, regardless.
Here's the deal, he says what he wants, and as much as people are like, oh, how the hell does somebody make money doing that? Well, because we want to hear that. We want to feel the shock and the craziness of a left field comment from a comedian who's got the energy and the insanity and the frenetic energy that Joe Rogan has. I've seen him 2 or 3 times live. He's fucking great. But, I don't know. I think people also have a problem separating the art from the artist in a lot of ways. I don't necessarily give a shit really what he believes in. If he's up there telling stories, because what percentage of what comedians is telling you is true anyway? If they're able to stand up there and tell you stories and make you laugh by some shit that's probably not true, then they're doing their fucking jobs. And they're a good comedian in my eyes. I don't really care what they say and do when they're done with their profession. I don't really care about that.
No, you don't care about that, obviously. And normally, we're not in general as an audience going to either, because really it's just going to be the comedy. When you watch any of these comedians, you're generally, if they do an hour and 15-minute set, you're going to take a few things from that you're going to be able to repeat, that you're going to think about again. That was really funny. I feel like that's how it is with comedians with me. There's only a very small handful of comedians that I feel can do an hour and 15, an hour and 30, and I'm going to laugh all the way through. So that's really the kind of the setting or the level that I kind of measure things to whether or not, that comedian is someone I'm interested in listening to again. Not so much the content, unless it's just overbearingly similar and they're kind of just going at the same thing. I'm not really keen on that so much. But, again, just trying to stick to the topic of this show, I feel that the biggest issues that we're seeing is that some of these comedians, especially the ones that have always been kind of against the so-called wokeness, having a bad effect on comedy and societal customs, it's still some of the stuff that some of these jokes are unnecessarily cruel. They can sometimes be in poor taste, and those can sometimes have a dangerous influence on how people think or how people act, and that kind of stuff kind of But I'm just saying those kind of situations with those comics in general are the ones that undermine the efforts towards social progress and protections of marginalized groups, when you're looking at people that aren't generally going to be laughing at that kind of stuff, man. So it still goes back to the comedian themselves. And I think what Bob said earlier is dead on. They have to wake up the next day. They have to deal with the ramifications of what their set was, what they're talking about, who they're going after. And that's very calculated with most of these comedians. And generally, if they're getting on any type of an HBO show or anything like that, have already created an act that really fits and that will be acceptable enough. And some that haven't are like Chappelle and whatnot. They'll go to Netflix, they'll go wherever else they need to go to be able to get their media out there, and people will follow if they love them. And if they don't, just don't watch. I mean, it's that simple.
That's what I'm trying to say.
And I'm with you with that, but again, right. But again, this show is, do they get a pass? I still say they don't get a pass.
And they should get a pass. Absolutely. It's a joke's a joke. If it's a funny thing, it's this funny thing. Who cares? If you're gonna cry about it, go cry a river, go somewhere else. Don't be a little bitch. The fuck out of here.
Don't be a little bitch.
Don't be a little bitch. The joke. From me, Argentina. Shit.
Oh, Argentina. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for hanging out with us at another episode of the Casually Serious Podcast. Do comedians get a social pass? I say they do. Ken Man says they don't. Hash Brown, who cares?
Who cares?